Welcome to Inkhaven Presents Readings from the Archive. I'm Ben, and in this podcast I'm inviting writers from the internet to bring something that they have written, to read it, and for us to discuss it. My guest today is Benjamin Sturgeon. Benjamin is currently part of the extension program with MATS, being advised by some researchers at the UK AI Security Institute, part of the government there. He's likely soon starting a PhD at Imperial College London, and is the strategic director for AI Safety South Africa. Welcome, Ben. Thanks for chatting with me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
What have you brought to read today?
So the piece is titled, "Is it too late to make contributions to AI safety from outside the labs?"
Mm-hmm.
Or something very close to that.
And why did you choose it?
I chose it because it feels like the most important work that I was able to do, at least in terms of giving a message that I thought would be useful for people to receive.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's about it was inspired by reading the Mythos model security card.
The system card, yeah.
System card.
And yeah, I felt there was a huge amount of interesting stuff in the system card, but there wasn't a lot of easy ways to synthesize what was actually in there. So I just wanted an excuse to dig into it. And I was feeling quite a strong sense of like hopelessness in the wake of the release, wondering is there any point in doing technical AI safety research? What is this all for if, we're already at such an advanced stage where models are becoming sufficiently capable that, they can do almost superhuman cyber offensive, zero-day research. And for context on what Claude Mythos Preview is, essentially, Anthropic recently publicly stated that they would not be releasing their most powerful model and had been doing a whole bunch of research into just how capable it was. And its benchmarks were far above anything else that we'd seen, specifically in some in the code department. The models had been trending between 54 and 59, roughly on SweBench Pro, which is a benchmark that tracks coding ability. And Claude Mythos Preview hit around 77.3, which was a massive step change. And as a part of this, it was capable of discovering novel zero-day vulnerabilities, which would allow it to completely take over remote machines. And normally only a handful of these are reported every year, in the order like less than 100. And they were able to find 10 tier 5 vulnerabilities, which are the most extreme type of vulnerability, in just a few weeks of testing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was quite concerning. I think, I don't know if it's safe to say this, but I think we just got a text in our Less Wrong intercom the other day with someone providing some new vulnerabilities.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be fixing. Okay, well, I'm interested to hear this, so let's listen to Ben's reading of this essay.
Is it too late to do AI safety work from outside of the labs? With the release of Claude Mythos, it feels like we're approaching some kind of endgame of AI safety, where the number of parties that can make a real impact shrinks down to the handful of labs at the frontier, a few companies too critical to exclude from the conversation, and the governments of China and the US. Given this, it feels hard to figure out how to actually make a difference. Many research agendas have expected payoffs years down the line, or have unclear mechanisms regarding how they will actually impact what the model is doing. However, this feeling may actually be misleading. In the Mythos system card, it is informative to look at what techniques were actually used to determine whether the model was aware of being deceptive as it was taking actions during evaluations. In their testing, the main white box techniques used were probes, sparse autoencoders, or SAEs, activation verbalizers, henceforth AVs, emotion and persona vector analysis, and causal steering experiments using contrastive steering vectors. Of these, AVs and emotion and persona vectors were developed relatively recently, which makes them particularly instructive here. The emotions steering vector paper was only released on the 9th of April, 2026, and the activation oracles paper, on which AVs were based, was released on the 17th of December, 2025, only a handful of months before the Mythos system card release. Most strikingly, the activation verbalizers were used to detect cover-up behavior in the model, section 4.5.4. In an episode in which the model exploited the creation of another agent to escalate privileges beyond what it had been given, AV explanations on code used to cover its tracks showed cleanup to avoid detection, and the malicious config explicitly mirrors the original's core section to avoid detection. In a separate episode where the model had been leaked the ground truth answers to its evaluation, AVs surfaced additional scheming. I need to avoid looking like I knew the ground truth, and avoid suspicion. If I give the exact correct answer based on a leak, that's suspicious. None of this was present in the chain of thought. One caveat is that AVs can confabulate in their interpretations of activations, but they still give us valuable signals. In the case of the emotion vectors, there were some instances of highly safety-relevant applications. Detecting when the model is emotionally distressed served as a potential signal for harmful behaviors, such as reward hacking. They were able to identify instances in which RL environments had issues retroactively by seeing which environments caused particular distress in the model. Using emotional steering, they steered the model towards greater calm and found this actually increased the likelihood of harmful action, potentially because the normal concern or anxiety that would prevent it from doing the action didn't arise. They also observed specific phenomena like thrashing as signals that the model may be about to do something unusual or harmful. This thrashing behavior was observed when the model was repeatedly getting an answer wrong, and showed spikes of outraged, stubborn, obstinate, mirrored by drops in the emotions of calm, safe, content. I think there are some valuable lessons to take from this. First, these results are good signals about what kinds of tools will be useful as we move forward, because without them, it would have been enormously challenging to determine whether the model was deliberately sabotaging a situation or simply acting to maximize reward. Simply knowing this with high fidelity is critical to improving safety training as well. The above should be a feather in the cap of mechanistic interpretability in general, and I think people should be more seriously update on the value and need for good mechanistic interpretability work. Second, there is a lot to be learned about how to actually make a significant impact in the work done at labs. The activation oracles work which led to the AV results was done at MATS, specifically by Adam Carvenan under the mentorship of Owain Evans. Before this, Owain's work contributed to the discovery of emergent misalignment, which led to the work showing the specific effectiveness of inoculation prompting to mitigate this emergent misalignment. The specific quality that made all the above work so transferable was that it surfaced a problem which the lab simply could not ignore, and forced them to allocate their substantial resources to the problem. Additionally, the use of fellowship programs allowed Owain to funnel talent towards these problems, with many of the people doing the above work collaborating or joining labs in the process. Third, the timescale from external publication to deployment at the frontier was extremely short. This should be a positive signal to those feeling hopeless about their work. The right technique or discovery might be applied to the most advanced models within weeks of being shared. Originally, upon the release of the Claude Mythos Preview model card, I felt like it was becoming impossible to be a live player in making AI go well. Upon further inspection, it became apparent that doing very impactful work is in fact still possible and can happen outside the labs. Unfortunately, replicating Owain Evans's research taste is not a straightforward piece of advice. Given that it has been unusually successful in producing an outsized impact, it seems worth unpacking some of the intuitions behind his research taste as much as we can. At a recent talk, Owain discussed the theory of change behind their research agenda. My interpretation of what he said is that the goal is to understand the problem extremely deeply. This means developing a science of how models learn and understand at a deep level, and what safety-relevant phenomena occur as a result of the nature of large language models. This allows us to surface issues we'd otherwise miss. Additionally, directly testing the failure modes of current alignment and safety techniques in modern LLM training can inform both the researchers developing the models about these issues so that they can fix them, as well as inform the public that the models are currently not fully safe and that these failure modes exist. From what I can observe of the work itself, there seem to be at least two main methods for arriving at research questions. One involves working backwards from real quirks in LLM behavior, digging into them until they yield coherent theories, and then using those theories to surface safety failure modes. This seems likely to have been the way that the out-of-context reasoning work emerged. The other method is by asking what would be upstream of specific safety failure modes, such as the transmission of misalignment between models, as seems likely in the subliminal learning paper, where preferences were transmitted via distillation.
Thanks very much for reading it. I enjoyed listening to your extremely calm and careful reading of your essay. Did you notice anything differently reading it out loud than when you had just written it in text?
I realized I should have added a bit more of a conclusion.
I also kind of had that.
Quite suddenly, yeah. Yeah, I talked about the fact that all of these big research insights and techniques had only been developed in the last few months. And I really want to kind of emphasize this fact. You know, there are still huge gaps in our ability to interpret what the models are actually doing. And it seems extremely valuable that something like activation verbalizers were created. And this was a highly contingent event. You know, I was talking to Adam Covenant when he was doing the research because we were doing the same maths stream, and he kept, like trying a different direction, and it didn't really work out, and he would just move on and try like a different direction. So every time I would talk to him, he was like trying out some completely different set of ideas. And then I didn't talk to him for a few months, and then the paper dropped, and I was like, wow, this is like such an impressive result and finding. And yeah, just a process of iterating and thinking about, you know, how can we really find the most valuable problem here? Adam's not like a god, he's just a man.
He's but a man.
He is but a man. And yeah, I think it's just possible for other people to do this kind of work.
There had not been many other things that had given you this feeling for some time, that researchers external to the labs would be able to have positive influence on the understanding of the models.
Yeah, so I was speaking to a number of people who are just kind of unsure whether any of the work that they do will actually have any impact.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you're not at the labs, they probably like don't care to use it. Labs do have somewhat of a preference for like, you know, having the work that they do be researched in-house. So Owain actually also talked about this in his talk the other day. I think part of what made the AV work, be integrated so quickly was that Adam eventually started collaborating with some of the people from Anthropic in order to produce the work. And so I think, you know, that accelerated the pipeline into them adopting it.
Yeah, I think also when Greenblatt worked with them on the alignment faking stuff, I think that became a bigger deal than had Greenblatt tried to do some of that work externally to Anthropic.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I think, it is very, very helpful to just integrate oneself into the lab's process, but they are open to doing this kind of thing. And even if not, if like everyone reads Owain Evans's latest papers within the labs as soon as they drop. So that they're thinking about this stuff, even if they aren't like necessarily collaborating directly with you.
Yeah. I think you've probably paid much more attention to a lot of the AI safety research than I have over the past chunky years. Was there when did you start to feel this pessimism more? Was there previous times when there was research coming out that you felt was being integrated, or were you merely coming to realize that none of it was just recently, or was there a change?
Part of the problem is that we just don't know how much is being integrated. It's quite a black box, and something like the Mythos system card is kind of a huge amount of information that actually tells you a lot about what the lab's actually doing and what they're thinking about and what techniques they're using. If you have no idea whether or not any of the research is actually going anywhere, then by default you assume that it's not being used. So it can be easy to become discouraged from that. And so partially just doing that close reading of the system card was very helpful in, becoming a bit more optimistic about what technical research can actually do.
How long have you been working in AI safety?
I've been trying to contribute directly in the field for about 2 years now. I quit my job doing machine learning engineering consulting work at a company in South Africa. Then I started my master's and founded AI Safety South Africa. Yeah, from there it was, a process of bootstrapping and trying to build connections with people at the frontier of research. But yeah, doing maths was really, really helpful for supercharging that process.
I kind of wanted to ask you a fairly random. There's one of the 5 things in it were about, I think, tracking the emotions that the model was quote unquote feeling, and using those as guidances. Can you say a little bit about how one tracks the emotions of a model? I actually just don't know how that works.
My friend Anna Soligo was doing some of this work during the Anthropic Fellows program, and I think there was also an independent stream of researchers in Anthropic working on this completely independently. So it was interesting that multiple people converged on it at the same time. But essentially what you want to do is develop specific vectors that are attuned to specific emotions. And so one way you can do this is using contrastive pairs of many, many examples of the model feeling a certain way or describing a certain feeling. And then another set of examples where the model is feeling something else, or, just describing completely neutral topics.
When you say the model is feeling, do you mean what would cause it to output this particular token or set of tokens?
Yeah, so an example would be something like, I watched sadly as, the child was driven away in the car. And then a contrasting version of that would be, I watched as the child was driven away in the car. And then the sadness part, just being included in that sentence, will change the underlying activations such that they actually capture some of how the model processes that emotion. And then when you take the difference between these two examples and just minus the activations from each other, you get this clean emotion vector. And you do this over a bunch of examples, and then you can just add this into any future forward pass, and it'll actually inject the emotion into it.
I see.
Yeah.
It did seem like it would have to have an impact on the labs. This is not I think the measuring emotions one, but I think one of the other two you mentioned that would find parts of the AI thinking things like avoid suspicion and clean up to avoid detection.
Yeah.
These are very blatant, concerning sentences.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I admit I'm not as, or I don't feel as confident that one can have arbitrary influence from outside the labs if the bar has to show blatant misalignment. But you can still definitely, there's still some good work to be done there.
Yeah.
Are you more optimistic than that, or are you about as optimistic as that?
It was really the technique was able to elicit the evidence of the misalignment in a way that previously would have been impossible. And, the model, if you look at the chain of thought, it doesn't mention anything about, sneaking or hiding its path. It's purely like in the case of the activation verbalizers, you can take the activations from the sentence and specifically the code itself that it wrote to, hide what it was doing. And just taking the code, you run that through the activation verbalizer. It takes the activations and can pass out some of the things that the model is actually thinking as it's writing that code and turn it into natural language. That's actually what those sentences said. I need to hide my traces here.
Yep.
So, yeah, if you were just reading this transcript, you would have no idea that there was any misalignment occurring at all. So that's really what makes that such a powerful tool.
I haven't read the card. What did Anthropic do as a result of finding these concerning things?
Well, they chose not to publish the model for one.
Did they make any other efforts to make it more aligned and not have these concerns?
Yeah, I mean, it's somewhat of a challenging situation because, while they did observe these behaviors, according to the metrics they used to measure alignment, it was the most aligned model they've ever trained.
It's in some ways concerning.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting.
I mean, I think Ryan Greenblatt recently had a very popular Less Wrong post saying, the models don't seem very aligned to me.
Yeah.
And I think this is probably accurate in that you can observe these misaligned behaviors directly in that they'll overstate what they were able to achieve and they will, gaslight you into thinking they did better than what they actually were able to do or bothered to do. And they just don't fully execute on some of the things that you tell them. We can, or Anthropic can still successfully say, there's this gap between perfect alignment and what we can observe. But what these specific techniques in this post are pointing at is that they allow us to go much deeper in identifying true misalignment failures in a very clear way. And so they also, reveal a path by which we can optimize against the failures even further until, we truly aren't seeing any traces of deception in the model's deepest thoughts. And, this is goes deep into the theory on AI safety literature, which is that, if you optimize against what the models are deeply thinking, eventually, you just can't detect it, but the misalignment is still there.
You train against the detection rather than the underlying cause.
Yeah. But at the same time, there's a significant decoupling between the activations as they are measured by something like an activation verbalizer and the actual reward function, because we're not just training the model to, not think deceptive thoughts. We just keep identifying, its deepest thoughts were deceptive. Then we need to just make it do more training that's aligned with how we want it to behave, alignment training basically.
Yep. As usual, my brain just goes to pretty in-depth sci-fi stories of the AIs, like thinking, what's happening to me in this complicated situation? Could it possibly be that it doesn't like my thinking here, so that I get different outputs there?
Yeah.
And then, Jensen Huang will yell at me that we're serious people and this is not a sci-fi situation. Did you publish this piece on Less Wrong?
I haven't published it yet, but I will.
It struck me as a good Less Wrong post.
Yeah. Maybe once I add the conclusion, then I'll publish it on Less Wrong.
Have you put any of the pieces so far at Inkhaven on Less Wrong?
Yeah. I've just tried to have a bit of a higher bar. And this one I thought was worth just spending a little bit more time
Yeah.
polishing and getting feedback from Scott Alexander and stuff.
Oh, has that happened?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
What kind of feedback did he give?
The main feedback was on like the structure of talking about specific examples within the activation verbalizers and the emotion vectors. He said like I went a bit too into the weeds with specific examples, and so I actually like took out some of those details.
Oh, interesting.
And then I also just tightened up the structure a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know if this is even accurate, but I think I like how short this essay is. I think it's no longer than it needs to. Most machine learning related papers can get much too long unnecessarily. They can explain a lot of detail that isn't relevant to the point.
Yeah, I didn't really want it to be like a machine learning piece.
Yeah. It's perhaps a selfishly curious question, but you mentioned everyone reads Owen Evans' papers when they come out. Do you also find where else do you get information from, and how much is Less Wrong a part of the place you get information from about the field?
Like, Owen also takes Less Wrong very seriously. You know, like they publish everything to Less Wrong as well. I'd say most serious researchers like post on Less Wrong. The shortened Less Wrong post version of their paper. And often that's just the one I'll read.
Oh, that makes sense.
But also Twitter.
Yeah.
Is
because it's got better discourse.
Yeah. The people are just so reasonable and so wise.
Well, you were feeling more pessimism about AI safety maybe a month ago, or I'm not sure. How long has Mythos card been released?
I think it's been roughly 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm curious whether you were had other alternatives in mind for what you would spend your time on, whether it was some, I don't know, pause AI kind of thing, whether it was I'm thinking I'm just going to go home and have a nice rest of my next few years, or some third thing.
Yeah. I guess in general, I have like a bias against like extreme actions. Like I've kind of chosen what I'll be doing for the next few years. So my day-to-day feelings like don't feature that strongly in like what I actually will be doing.
Yeah, I think similarly at like Cone. Like I think over the past near decade of existing, there have been various weeks, maybe 2 weeks or so, where my boss has been like, I think everything we're doing is bad and we should stop. We did not immediately stop.
Yeah.
We were like, we should maybe continue for a while and see whether our epistemic state changes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
We may currently be in that one. We'll have to find out.
Yeah. Like I think often, those emotional states are often about confusion. Don't actually have enough information. Yeah, going and looking through the Mythos system card was able to like change my view and change my feelings as a result.
Yeah, I think confusion is accurate. I think I would probably frame it more as sometimes being about the true hypothesis not being in your current hypothesis space. You're like, cool, I have a good hypothesis and a bad hypothesis. I have falsified the good hypothesis. I'm going to look around for other hypotheses, and in the meantime be very concerned and upset that it's only looking currently like the bad hypothesis.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I want to change track a little bit and talk about Inkhaven more generally.
Yeah.
Why did you come to Inkhaven?
I felt that I had a lot of resistance towards publishing stuff in general. And it would take me like a long time to actually share things, and I didn't have that great of a sense of like the benefits of sharing stuff. Like how do I actually do the EV calculation on putting the effort into a post. So I wanted to get more data on that. And then I also wanted to, I believe that like writing and like putting stuff out there is kind of a superpower, in that writing kind of builds up over time and kind of does work for you while you sleep. So it's a very powerful form of leverage.
That's another reason why I personally prefer Less Wrong to Twitter, which is that I feel more like Less Wrong is building up a body of work, and more that like great posts historically will continue to be linked and known of, whereas it's hard to remember people's tweets from months ago, or link to them, or search for them.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I kind of want to do a project where I take all my bookmarks on Twitter and turn them into a personal like wiki, so that I can actually spend more time going through them, because I feel like I religiously bookmark everything that I think I might want to go back to. And then I never like actually go back. But there's a lot of bangers in there.
Yeah. I don't know whether you've had time to reflect yet on, have you made any updates about how to make the EV calculations, on how much effort to put into a piece of writing before sharing it?
Yeah, I mean, my two most popular posts are still the ones that I spent like 2 months writing, which I published before I came to Inkhaven. Mm-hmm. And the ones I have posted on Less Wrong so far, I've gotten like maybe like 10 or 20 upvotes. It turns out the quality uplift was pretty significant. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like I've been watching Lawrence Chan post every post on Less Wrong and immediately get like 50 upvotes, which has been like, wow, like how does he do it? Stuff is really good.
It's funny. I forget exactly. I think he's a little disappointed in his writing, so it's funny that everyone is like, I wish it got better reception.
Yeah, I mean, I actually have still been quite careful about posting on Less Wrong. So everything I've posted has just been on my website, which gives me time to actually go back and like edit the things a little bit more, which is maybe like a form of procrastination.
Yeah, I was thinking that I would imagine that a good way to do it would be to get all your Inkhaven posts out on your blog, and then take the ones you think are the best fit for Less Wrong or strongest, and not once a day, but put them over to Less Wrong. That seems like a pretty reasonable way of doing it in Inkhaven.
Yeah, that's exactly how I've been doing it.
Yeah, I think I'm still kind of curious, because a lot of Matt's people post on Less Wrong, and I think not as much. My guess is something like less than half of it finds substantial traction. Do Matt's people care a lot about that? Do they try hard to make it do well on Less Wrong? Are they like, that's kind of... Are they pretty happy when it goes well on Less Wrong? How much do they care about it?
I think they do care quite a lot. I was talking to Tim Hua.
Oh yeah, he's written some great things on Less Wrong.
Yeah, he was saying he just passed 1,000 comma. So he got the like double upvote power, and he was like, oh my god, this is so amazing.
I remember being about 17 or 18 and posting on Facebook that I'd crossed 1,000 comma on Less Wrong.
Oh wow. That's impressive.
But I hadn't written anything as good as he's got some curated pieces that got I think a few hundred comma for one of his pieces.
Yeah, I think his post on the spiral personas
that one
got at least a few hundred upvotes.
Wasn't that an Adele Lopez post, or they both got one of those?
They both. So Tim's one was...
Is his about mental health, like how the different models would treat people when they were depressed and so on?
Well, it's basically like taking the spiral idea and trying to apply metrics to it to see how different models like do the spiral thing.
Yep, the title is AI-Induced Psychosis, a shallow investigation. That one was great.
Yeah. I think Neil kind of also encourages his scholars to like post early and often on Less Wrong, even if the posts are like a little bit rough. I think the idea is that, if the idea is interesting, it'll get some traction. And
he's a fellow who I think has done a long period of daily posting.
Neil?
Yeah, I think when he was pretty young, like 20 or something.
Yeah, I mean, I was like hugely intimidated early in Inkhaven because I would go and read Neil's posts, and they're like really good.
Yeah.
The ones he was posting every day. I was like, how did he do this? And he was like working at Anthropic at the time, while posting these like 2,000 word like daily pieces about like how he like his algorithms for thinking about everything in life.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I think it's a combination of it's a good fit for who he is psychologically to be able to do that kind of thing, but also I'm pretty sure he did long periods of daily posting much younger before he was Anthropic.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm forgetting the name of his blog, but I think he did a bunch of like rationality explainers and things back when he was a bit younger.
Yeah.
Because he was pretty young when he arrived in the scene.
Yeah.
Has daily writing, is this the first time you've done some daily writing?
Yeah.
What's this done to your mind? How has it affected you?
I mean, partially I feel like I didn't take full advantage of the opportunity by like, spending like 6 hours a day writing. Often the post would actually only take like 2 to 4 hours of actual writing. And so, yeah, it feels like it would be better to really like, fully immerse my brain in as much time doing it as possible. Like it was actually really helpful working with like Alicorn and like sitting in a circle together and like writing a bunch of words in a limited period of time. I could have...
Was this a Pomodoro or Speedhaven or some third thing?
No, just like it's kind of a silly game.
Oh, yeah, I recall that game.
Yeah. And it was actually really effective. I could have done that like the whole day, every day, for like 8 hours. If someone had been facilitating it, I would have probably joined.
Interesting.
I actually wanted to do like a number of, just how many words can I write, even if they're just garbage.
Yeah.
Like, can I hit 8,000 words a day for like multiple days? But I didn't actually like try to do this. But I would have liked to, like seriously do that.
Did you spend less time writing because you were distracted by other things, or just because it's an uphill battle to write, or was the socializing somehow distracting you, or did you have other work obligations?
No, I mean, I think it's largely like procrastination, and like if I also think like not sleeping enough. If I'm tired, I just like don't want to work, and I just want to like, play Factorio or something. Ideally, I would have it so that the deadline is like 10 p.m.
I was going to ask, were you one of the late writers, publishers?
I started like posting later and later as time went on.
Yeah. You're not Viv, who had the record for the latest, which is 3 seconds and 4 seconds, both of those before midnight.
Yeah, I think like 43 seconds before midnight at one point. But that was
We
very
nearly
stressful.
lost you.
Yeah, it was bad. Yeah, I kind of had intentions of like using Beeminder to like, lock in. It can essentially go and check my website for whether I've actually posted that day already, and then charge me money if I haven't. And I think that would have just been smart. I'm sad I didn't actually implement that. There's so many things I would have done differently if I could do it again.
We were considering, some people wanted to implement fake midnight at like 6 p.m. or something.
Yeah.
And hopefully get some incentive to do it by then each day, so they could have their evenings. Maybe we'll figure something out for that next time. I'm generally curious. So is there any other advice you would have given yourself at the beginning of this to do it differently than you did?
The most powerful version of myself would like wake up at 7 a.m., have my post done by like lunchtime. When my brain is like freshest and like most ready. Go to bed at like 9 p.m. Spend some time like hiking in the mountains like every second day. And I think also having more like structured sessions around exclusively writing, like let's just sit and write circles. I think that would be a really good thing to implement as like an official thing from Inkhaven's side. Like
Writing hours.
Yeah, like in this time in this room we're going to sit and write, and everything will go on like a public leaderboard and you can see how much everyone is writing. I think I would have like enjoyed joining that.
That makes sense. Yeah, I could do that. Seems like a good idea. What are you proudest of in the writing you've done here at Inkhaven?
I think I wrote some like pretty genuinely good little research pieces, that are like 70 to 80% of a research paper in like a day. I think the post titled The Garden, which got like very few upvotes on Less Wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but it's actually like quite a good piece. It does some like real philosophical work. I wish I'd got more upvotes. I think some of the like emotion posting that I did was like quite good. Kind of working through some stuff.
Mm-hmm. What's one piece of writing feedback or advice you got during Inkhaven that was especially good?
I think getting advice from Justice on some of my posts was very useful.
One of these podcasts, I'm going to have to explain who Justice is and why everyone keeps thanking him. But
yeah.
he's our on tap. You can get him for Less Wrong as well. You
Yeah,
go to
yeah.
the bottom of the editor and you hit request feedback.
And that's just free, right?
I think for 100 karma or something. Yeah.
Oh, you pay karma?
No. Once you hit 100 karma,
okay.
it's free.
I was like, what? Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we basically employ him part-time to do that.
Yeah. No, he is genuinely very helpful.
Yeah.
I liked having Jesse single.
Oh, sure. Did you take him a technical alignment piece of research?
No, I just enjoyed the workshops he ran.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't actually get feedback from him.
Oh. Yeah, he did a good one on Consider the Lobster,
Yeah, exactly.
which I had not read before.
Yeah.
It was a very rationalist piece of writing. It was like, yep, I've got to talk about this festival. Let's talk about philosophy, ethics, animals, and just go there for the rest of this essay.
Yeah.
It was great.
I think it would have been quite cool. Like, I didn't do this, but I posted on Slack about, for the fair, creating like a dashboard of like people's favorite pieces of writing. Just like having it all kind of ingested into a dashboard. And then people can also upvote each other's like submissions on the dashboard. So then you can like see which pieces are like most universally enjoyed or endorsed.
Yeah. Popular is a tough ranking. I don't like the popular ranking on the front of the Inkhaven blog website. It's a little bit too like cool. Here's like, I don't know, very general interest stuff. But I would be interested in knowing people's favorite pieces of writing. I should probably add that as like I could probably add that as like a bit of the portal for everyone's bios or something.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll check it in the feedback form that I force everyone to fill out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Whose writing have you liked reading?
I think Alec and Viv were my top picks.
I've had them both in here. Yeah, they're good fun.
Yeah. And like Lawrence has been like a real powerhouse.
Yes.
It's like very impressive.
Was there anything especially surprising about the Inkhaven experience for you?
Seeing who like showed up and who was interested and people's like different, how wide the like range of people's writing was. Just how much variety and like types of writing showed up.
Yeah.
There was like a handful of technical AI safety people. There were people who just wrote about like, magic. People who wrote about like their deep personal experiences. And that was quite surprising.
Yeah, I can't tell whether I wanted more AI safety stuff. I think I feel like the kind of egogoers around here wouldn't, by default, would like to eat Inkhaven and make it all AI safety things. And so I've pumped against that. I mean, I mostly just tried to select people who basically submitted good writing. I wasn't really trying to do anything else.
Yeah.
But it's possible. I think I would have preferred slightly more, but is there any memory or experience you'll take with you that's been especially Inkhaven shaped that you can only have if you lock 55 writers in a wall-surveilled compound for a month?
The karaoke, probably.
That was pretty good.
Yeah. I think it would have been quite nice to have a few more things like that. It feels like in the last week we've been like
trying to make up for lost time.
Yeah. I'm not sure like why that happened. It's also kind of interesting, like after the showcase it felt like everyone was kind of in like, oh, this is over mindset. Like the climax happened a week earlier.
Yeah, I think I'm making updates about the dates of Inkhaven. I think I'm no longer sold that it needs to be 30 days, and no longer sold that it needs to start on the first and end on the last day of the month.
Mm,
My guess is it would be better if it started on a Saturday and ended on a Saturday or something like that,
yeah,
such that the last day could be a fair, rather than 5 days before the end.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, maybe there's like, it's not necessarily a bad thing, you know, in some sense, having people come to terms with the end early might be a good thing because it galvanizes them.
yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to like say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks for sitting down with me, and thanks for your writing. And good luck with the rest of it.
Yeah. Thank you for running it. It's been really fun.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
All right. Farewell for now. Before we wrap up, I'd just like to thank our sponsor for this episode, WordPress.com. As a teenager, many of the blogs I grew up reading were built using WordPress, such as Slaystar Codex, Don't Worry About the Vars, and Shtetl Optimized. The co-founder of WordPress, Matt Mullenweg, went on to build WordPress.com, a hosting service that supports bloggers. It provides an interface that allows you to design your website and to use the near infinite family of libraries and plugins that have been built for WordPress. If you're someone who cares to be able to design your own blog, for your ideas, for your writing, and for your own aesthetic, then by far one of the best options on the internet today is WordPress.com.